The biggest question of all is whether or not the thesis for owning gold is intact. So let's bring in former Texas Representative Ron Paul. Dr. Paul, it is great to have you back on the show. Thank you for being a friend of CNBC.
Thank you,
Are
Amy.
you still in the gold camp? You're a known gold bull. And if you are still in the gold camp, why?
Well, probably in a way not that many people who do investments think about it. I don't think about investing in gold and trading gold. I don't do any of that. But I look at it, fundamentally, and I got involved in the 1970s when the dollar was dislinked from gold, and, it was $35 an ounce, and I thought government would spend too much and run up too much debt and print too much money. So it really has, been doing exactly what I expected. But even in the 70s, gold went up to 200 and back to 100. So it lost 50%. So I think the gold market is rather typical of markets. Things come and go, especially when there's a lot of traders in and weak holders of gold. But the people who know and understand gold, they're buying gold. I mean, they're lined up. Coin stores are running out of silver and gold the other day. It was hard to find it, the real stuff. But in trading, that's a different story, and I don't do that.
I mean, you're absolutely right that markets come and go, markets go up, markets go down, and yet you've got skin in the game, right? I mean, I believe you said that when gold, sort of started its descent, you were saying, look, I'm not worried about this, but personally, how much money have you lost on the gold bet that you've made?
Well, I haven't really calculated because I have coin collections and things in numismatics, and I wouldn't want to, I just don't think of it that way. It's sort of like, do you think about your cash value of your insurance policies? I don't do that. But I do know that people who are concentrating or making this emphasis or trying to downplay gold, where were they for 12 years when it was the biggest bull market of any commodity ever? 12 solid years it went up. So, and this year isn't even over yet, so who knows what's going to happen. Goldman Sachs might affect the market again someday. Who knows? So, and that was another thing that I was often wondering about. Nobody's had an answer is when that 53,000 contracts sold in with one sale. Who did that? Was that the President's Working Group on Financial Markets or somebody else? But those things affect the market. But long term, the market is more powerful than the Fed, more powerful than the good politicians. If you print money, believe me, the price of gold in terms of dollars will go up. And it's an absolute proven fact. I mean, gold has been money for 6,000 years. They've tried to make paper money over these many years, but it never works, and now the whole world's doing it now. So I think we live in very, very dangerous times because we spend too much money, there's too much debt, and everybody thinks you can print the money, and debts don't matter. And believe me, they still do, and someday people will realize that gold is the ultimate money.
And certainly, as we've been watching gold go down, though, Dr. Paul, one of the other things that we've watched is increased interest in alternative places to put your money to fiat currency. For example, the sudden interest in Bitcoin. What do you think about Bitcoin? Is that the real deal, or is it just a speculative flash in the pan?
Well, from my viewpoint, it isn't, but that doesn't mean that I have the final answer. Quite frankly, I don't understand how it's calculated, and I also know that I can't put it in my pocket. So it's still determined, by fiat money, and it is a means of exchange. And if that came out of the marketplace, there certainly shouldn't be no prohibitions as long as there's no fraud involved. But it doesn't fit the definition of money by Austrian economics. I mean, it's usually something of real value. When times get tough, they use cigarettes and tobacco and all kinds of things, but they usually don't use a computer entry and a complex computer code to calculate it. So I don't understand it, so I'm really not into that, but I don't criticize people who think it's going to solve all our problems. Quite frankly, I don't think it will.
I also have to ask you, of course, what you think about Goldman's gold call. Of course, we're just talking about it in a moment with Jim and Grizz and the fact that Goldman Sachs says cover your bearish bullion bets. What do you make of that, and what do you make of the timing?
I have no idea. I think they obviously look at the market and they have ulterior motives, and they make a lot of comments, and I have no idea what their purpose is, but I think the markets, these announcements have effect, and what governments do have effect, and what our Federal Reserve Board chairman says, they have effect, but only very short time. Markets are very powerful. right now we're printing the money and the stocks are going up, and that's wonderful for Wall Street. But that doesn't mean it's going to continue, and what Goldman Sachs says about gold may have an effect today and tomorrow. But ultimately, it's the printing press that determines the ratio between gold and dollars.
What do you mean exactly by Goldman's ulterior motives, which is the words that you used?
Well, I have no idea what they want to do, but they make comments like last week, and it's sort of, people use that as an excuse for the market to go down. I think markets were destined to go down, and when we find something like an announcement by Goldman Sachs, we have no idea, is that accidental or what? I have a better analysis of when the Federal Reserve and politicians make announcements, because they always have ulterior motives. They're always wanting to talk people into something that isn't really true. So people in the market may well do the same thing.
Thank you so much for joining us, former Representative Ron Paul of Texas.